Anyway, back here now with John Kelly from JVC. John, thanks for taking a bit of time out your booth. JVC have got some pretty exciting new cameras.
Yes, we have indeed. We're actually releasing 4 new camera products over the next month or so, so it's a very exciting time for us. It's quite unusual for us to release that number of products in such a small space of time. So yeah, so very exciting. In particular, this takes us in what for JVC is effectively 2 new technology directions. Firstly, the direction of 4K, which is obviously very much a dominant theme at the moment from an acquisition point of view. And then secondly, in some of the new products in terms of adopting large sensor technology. So 2 of our new models adopting a Super 35 large sensor. So we see those 2 issues as being really key technology drivers over the next couple of years.
Now, traditionally, you guys have done a lot of the smaller sensor cameras, but with fixed zoom lens and very much kind of education and corporate. This larger sensor move is taking you into a different territory. Is that something you've been looking at for a while? I mean, why now?
Yeah, I mean, obviously that market has been growing and evolving over the last 2 or 3 years, and we obviously see a lot of customers using DSLR type products as well, and entering the market from that direction, and perhaps from, let's say, non-traditional directions. You're absolutely right. Our core market has been the customer areas you mentioned. Of course, our success in broadcast was, for example, adoption by the BVC of the HM650 camcorder, but certainly in terms of that large sensor, cinematic, shallow depth of field look, that's very much a new market for us. And it's a market area which is particularly in the UK, actually, as you will know, has been very, very popular, more so if we look around in perhaps other parts of Europe and globally as well, very much a key trend in the UK. So certainly from our point of view, it's very important we were part of that. And we think with the new products, and particularly the LS300 Super 35 camcorder, we're very well placed to attract people to that.
Let's start with that one. You mentioned 4 new cameras. Let's start with the LS300. For anyone who's unfamiliar with what this is, give us the information of what it's all about.
Yeah, so the LS300 is a sort of mid-size handheld camcorder, and I guess really the key point is it's very much in a format that a professional videographer or production customer would recognize. So it has XLR audio, it has manual controls, it has ND filters, all of the things that, again, if one looks around that large sensor market, isn't always present in all kinds of large sensor offerings. So it's very much that recognizable professional camcorder format, but obviously, of course, as we said, adding in the Super 35 native 4K sensor.
And what's the lens mount? What is that going to open up in terms of opportunities for our filmmakers who like to use a lot of stills lenses, for example?
Yeah, no, and again, that's very much a key point, because that Super 35 4K sensor sits behind an MFT mount. And I think that choice of mount is quite interesting, because what it gives us the ability to do is very easily adapt to a very wide range of lens formats without necessarily needing optical correction, for example. So whether it's Canon EF lenses or PLs, or really that really broad spectrum of lenses, in most cases a simple mechanical adapter will allow you to connect to the camera.
So the DSLR user who's got a bag load of lenses, which, let's face it, is a big investment, can simply adapt with a very inexpensive third-party adapter and use this new camera.
That's exactly correct, and as well, of course, is using the native MFT lenses that the mount has.
And talk to me about the kind of codecs this records.
Okay, so obviously the camera, of course, can record both in HD and SD, and HD and 4K. And certainly we would see a lot of production still, of course, done in HD format and resolution. So HD recording is a 264 codec at 50 megabits with 422 sampling.
So it should satisfy HD broadcasters' requirements?
Yeah, I would expect so, yes. And then in 4K mode, it's 150 megabit sampling, again with that H.264 codec. The recording itself physically is onto SDHC type memory card, so again, commercially affordable, non-proprietary media formats, and as you know, all of our solid-state cameras have adopted that format. We found it very, very reliable and very successful.
And inputs and outputs?
primarily is HDMI and HDSDI, both of which are uncompressed. If you do want to dock to an external recorder, for example, then it's very easy to do that, or of course use it in a live environment.
And will it stream, is it Ultra HD or is it full 4K?
At the moment, the spec is Ultra HD, but with a plan in future through upgrades to support
can you send,
4K as well.
and I might put you on the spot here, can you send the 4K signal, Ultra HD signal, through HDMI and SDI? So if you're using an external recorder, for example, is that something that's
yes, you could. Yes, you could, yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So that's the LS300, which is, I guess, is it a flagship product? Is that the right thing to say? It's certainly the new kid on the block, isn't it?
Yeah, certainly because of that Super 35 cinematic look in an area that we haven't necessarily had a product before. The other product to highlight, which is sits beside that really, is a model called the SP100. And the SP100 takes the same core technology, which is a Super 35 sensor at 4K resolution, but has a two-piece camera design. So it's a very small, compact remote head connected through a cable to a base recording station with a separate remote control. So we see a really
perfect. We've got a pole cam here.
It's exactly correct.
Cam.
Exactly perfect for JIB pole cam type applications. But we're talking to a lot of customers in interesting areas like natural history, in sports, in aerial filming, for example, in very high-end broadcast applications.
So this gives you a camera head, which is small,
yep,
an umbilical, and a camera record pack, which means you can put that camera in tighter, confined spaces.
Yeah, that's exactly correct. And that camera, in due course, like the LS300 and like many of our other camcorders in the range, will have networking capability. So that will mean, for example, you can live stream that output up to 12 megabits per second. You can remotely control the camera over IP, and also you can FTP file transfer. So if you were in a, let's say, natural history environment, that kind of functionality in a remote camera system could be really useful.
Fantastic. So you mentioned 4 cameras, so what else have we got?
Yeah, so that's the first 2, and then the other 2 cameras are called the HM170 and the HM200. So these are designed, if you like, as more sort of run and gun, point and shoot ENG type camcorders. So in a way, a little bit more like some of our existing previous models, current models such as the M600 or previously the HM150. What they add in, however, again, is a 4K recording capability. So there's a single half-inch CMOS sensor giving you 4K recording capability, as well as HD recording, of course. And again, in that compact, ENG-orientated camera format. So again, for a B camera, for putting in your bag, doing shoots outdoors and so on. There's travel cam. It's a really excellent product in that regard.
Now, traditionally, JVC have made ENG-style cameras that can also be then configured in a studio environment. Without you necessarily having to give me any trade secrets away, are there plans, can you see this technology and these camcorders moving into kind of more of a studio configuration?
Well, I guess that's certainly possible. I mean, there are no plans, right now. I think releasing 4 cameras at one time, Dennis, even for you, that's enough. But obviously we have that technology, and maybe an important bit of the technology story is the fact that the sensor itself is actually within the JVC group of companies. It's actually made by a company called Altasense, who are an American sensor manufacturer, but actually owned by JVC Kenwood Corporation, our parent company. So it means we have that technology in-house, which is a great technology story for us going forward.
And you mentioned this was a new foray into 4K, but of course a couple of years ago, you had a camcorder that was available that did record 4K using the 4 SD cards. I mean, I used it, so it's not that you're new to 4K, but this is now a time when you feel you've got a really strong offering.
Yes, that's correct. I mean, the camera you referred to, the Q10, was a little bit ahead of its time. When we released that, the only thing we could actually display the 4K camera images on was a £65,000 project. 4K projector that we had, which didn't really quite balance by way of a market proposition. Obviously, 4K is developing, but as I say, particularly in the case of the LS300, we really see that shallow depth of field, cinematic look as being, very much 2 sides of the same coin, effectively.
Great stuff. So, John, you've got a booth at the show. Where are you? Where can people find you?
We are down that way, Dennis. I can't remember the stand numbers. You just come and find us.
Just come in, look for the big red letters JVC. John, thanks for taking some time out with us. We'll be back shortly with Ben and Chris from NewTek.